It's with great pleasure that I introduce Amy and Maya this afternoon.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody who's here. This is a little bit overwhelming to have made it this far and have all of you here. And it was a little bit overwhelming when we came into the park and saw so many of our good friends waiting for us. And so we had a good cry. One of many, yeah. I guess I don't know where to start. I feel like you probably know a lot of our story, but we met Rick Brooks, who's over here on the side, about 2 years ago at the Wisconsin Book Festival. And that was after Maya had done a solo cycling journey from Massachusetts to Milwaukee, which is the birthplace of the typewriter. And she called that project Typewriter, which we now call Typewriter 1, now that we have a 2. And when we met Rick, he said he was very disappointed he had missed the first trip, and was there any chance we would do a second, which sounded totally insane at the time. And then we decided it actually sounded like a pretty good idea, and we loved the idea of Little Free Library and visiting them, and we wanted to do one better than that and build little free libraries along our routes. So we first came up with a Kickstarter project, and with help from Rick, we chose the route starting in Boulder and ending here in Beloit, which is slightly arbitrary, but it actually does have some meaning. Particularly, it's a part of the country that neither of us had ever visited, and it's underserved to some degree through Nebraska by little free libraries, and so we thought it would be great to be able to build more there. So we were able to raise almost $30,000 and build 25 new little free libraries. So.
One of our big reasons for wanting to work with Little Free Libraries was that we had heard there were so many towns across the states that didn't have public libraries at all. So our initial reach out to the communities was for towns and even villages that didn't have a public library. So we were able to provide them with a destination for their community, which was really wonderful. I think the smallest town that we went through was about 81 people. And it's not that they couldn't find a public library nearby, it's that they just didn't have one where they were. So it was just a real treat to be able to provide that with them, for them. Why did we ride a tandem bicycle? That's pretty nutty, since neither of us had ever ridden one before. I really enjoyed my solo ride to Milwaukee a few years ago. But one of the things that we really talked a lot about for this project was the importance of collaboration for the Little Free Libraries, that these were intended to be communal spaces, and in some cases were being built by several hands and decorated and produced by a number of people in the community, and we wanted to be sort of metaphorically experiencing that along our route. So we decided to ride a tandem bicycle, and the first couple rides were terrifying because we quickly realized the things that were different between riding solo and riding in the tandem. I'm riding in front, so I'm responsible for announcing the bumps and train tracks and obstacles and things. And squirrels. And Amy is sort of helpless in the back. She has no control over the brakes or the gears or the direction that we're going. So there was immediately a lot of communication and collaboration that we experienced quite viscerally on the bicycle when we started training. What should we talk about next?
Why I'm wearing a pink cape. Some of you have already asked, but it started out as a joke. I wore it the first day because I thought it would be funny to have a cape on and pretend that we were superheroes going on this 1,400-mile journey. And quickly realized that the cape made me very visible. So for those of you who have read Harry Potter, he has an invisibility cloak. I have a visibility cloak. So day 2, I got on the bike without the cape, and 15 minutes later we called Steph, our support crew, and said, bring us the cape quick. And I put it back on, and I've worn it every day since. So it just made us feel like we were very visible on the roads when we weren't able to ride on a road that didn't have a lot of traffic or that had a very narrow shoulder. So it was great to feel like, it made me feel a little bit safer, as safe as you can be on a bike on the road. So, oh, and the last piece, I guess, of what we've been doing the last 30 days, our typewriters are over there, and we'll get them out. But we developed something that we call tandem poetry. And so when we stopped to celebrate the new Little Free Libraries or visit towns that already had Little Free Libraries, we would pull out the typewriters and we do something that we call tandem poetry, where we each write a poem based on a word that someone gives us. So they give us one word and we give them 2 poems. And we've been giving all of the poems away for free. And it was another way to sort of showcase collaboration. We're collaborating not only with each other as we write, not that we're speaking, but just it's a collaboration between us to be writing in public that way, but also a collaboration with the person who gives us a word. And there's a lot of, I don't know, it can be a very emotional process when someone gifts us the word. We feel like it's a gift and it has meaning to them, and then we are able to write these poems on the spot and give them back. And there's something about that collaboration that felt really good. So we'll do a little bit of that here today. We're exhausted and we haven't eaten, so I don't know how good the poetry will be, but we said from the beginning that it was more of an exercise than anything else. It's not that we thought, you know, someone was going to want to publish these, although we are planning a book about the trip with our poems, or some of our poems, and the photographs that Steph's been taking. But it's an exercise, and it's the act of doing, the act of creating every day that was the important piece for us. So I
just want to add that before we left on the trip, Amy and I teach art and creative writing classes in northern New Jersey, and one of the classes that we taught, we started making these tiny books, which I sort of got obsessed with just because I love miniatures. And so, of course, I love the Little Free Library because it's a miniature library. But these are even tinier books than in the Little Free Library. And one day we had like extra tiny books that we had made, and they're basically about 1.5 inches by 1 inch. And they had titles on them, but the insides were blank. And so I posted some on Facebook, and I said 5 tiny books in search of their authors. And that week, we had about 150 people demand to make tiny books. They really loved the idea of having a small space to create. And so Amy and I put together 150 little tiny books and sent them out to sort of the ether. And by the end of right before we left for the trip, we had about 500 tiny books that were sent to us. There were several schools that had classes that were making them, and families that were making them together, and it was really amazing. So we actually have brought the tiny books, and we'll set them out so you guys can take a look at the brilliance of them. They're all how-to books, and they're really funny and sweet and smart. Wisdom.
The last thing I think that we want to say, and feel free to ask questions, but I just have to say the biggest shout out to Stephanie, Renee, and I'm not even going to be able to say that. She's been with us the 30 days. She's been our driver. She's been our support crew. She has done anything that we've needed. She's been our therapist. She's witnessed our fights, and she's been the most amazing support that we could have asked for. So I just want to thank her. And she's from Beloit, which was pretty amazing. It wasn't planned that way, and so I think it's amazing to be here in her hometown where she grew up and have a little bit of that with us. So thanks, Steph.
I just also want to thank friends and family that have flown in from so far. It is emotional to see everyone's faces after we've been pretty much on our own on the road for a month. And so I don't know, you sort of feel anonymous as you're going the back roads and stuff, and they're beautiful. It's just the scenery that we've experienced and the people that we've met and the hospitality that we've been shown, and it's more than just niceness. It's just such a deep welcome that we've received, and I'm taking that home with me. It's just enormous to feel such a sense of people wanting to help, and interest and curiosity and kindness. And so I think in this sort of world of bad news and terrible headlines, to experience something so good every day, it's just very hopeful. So thank you.